Let me be the first to remark that my eyebrows are completely out of control today before any of you said about doing it in the comments. I know, I just filmed them like 5 hours ago. Like I filmed them this morning, I did the whole thing. I filmed them. I dyed them. Wow, we're like 2 seconds in and already it's like this. I dyed my eyebrows this morning. I dye them at home and they always look ridiculous on the first day. It's like we're serving Cara Delevingne realness. We're serving Bert from Sesame Street. We're always serving Bert from Sesame Street on day one. And usually I try to make it so that day one of dyed brows doesn't coincide with the filming day, but you know, you can't control everything in life. And this is one of the things I just couldn't control this week. So I dyed them. I washed my hair, which I feel like is actually looking pretty fierce. So we've got the benefit of the very, very freshly washed hair. We've got the detriment of the very, very freshly dyed eyebrows, but neither of those things is gonna keep us from talking about new makeup releases today. These brows are not gonna keep you from hearing my hot takes. In journalism, a hot take is a piece of deliberately provocative commentary that is based almost entirely on shallow moralizing in response to a news story, in this case a beauty news story, usually written on tight deadlines with little research or reporting and even less thought. This is truer than you even know today because I have not been paying attention to the new releases. I'm a complete noob right here entering into the world of new releases. I did glance over Trend Mood 2 days ago because I thought I was going to be filming this video 2 days ago, but that's like it. That's like where we're starting from. So no research, no reporting, not very much thought, and it is gonna be hasty because I only have so much time today. Whether or not it's deliberately provocative, you will have to decide for yourselves. Is it clear yet what this video is about? I'm going to be going through new makeup releases, so stuff that's new to the beauty market, and giving you my hot takes. If this is your first time to my channel, I'm really glad you're here. I'm Hannah. I love beautiful things. I take an interest in what is going on in the beauty market. I always like to see what brands think is gonna sell. I always like to see which aesthetics are kind of like reigning in any given week, month, or year. I love talking about it. And one of the best things about making a video like this is you can talk about that stuff, feel part of the community, feel interested in aesthetics and beauty, and have your finger on the pulse, me by doing it and you by watching it, but without any of us buying anything. I like making beauty content that doesn't revolve only around making purchases. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Let's go in reverse chronological order. Like I'm gonna start at the top of the feed and just talk about, I just talk about things that catch my eye. Like I'm not talking about everything. I'm just gonna talk about the things that I feel like I have something to say about which I feel like I have something to say. I'm just gonna talk about the things about which I feel like I have something to say. Okay, here's something about which I have something to say. This is the first thing on the list right now. Lawless Beauty, conceal the deal. Conceal the deal. Long wear full coverage foundation. I'm not that into full coverage foundation, so this doesn't really interest me. But you know, I have 2 things to say. One, well, those are 4 things. I have 2 things to say. One, conceal the deal. Like, can you even? I feel like they should have gone with something else. Sadie? That wasn't actually Sadie, it was Cordy. It was Julian Oliver's dog. She's like really gotten to where she likes to be with us if they're not home, and she's always like scrabbling around in here. I just think that the pun, it's just too much of a reach because it says conceal, but it's spelled wrong. And seal the deal, which is what they're trying to do. They're trying to do like a pun on seal the deal, but it's conceal the deal. And so they've spelled conceal wrong. It has S-E-A-L so that you know that they're saying the deal. First of all, it's not a concealer, so that weakens the pun, right? It's a foundation. So it's like, use this foundation to conceal the deal. Second, the phrase seal the deal, I feel like is really subsumed by this totally misspelled word, conceal. And it takes a minute for the other shoe to drop when you first see it. Like I read the listing, I was like, conceal the deal. What is conceal? What is conceal? And then it was like, oh, seal the deal, conceal the deal. And then I was like, I have something to say about this. So it's awkward. You know, it's awkward. I feel like trend predictors, which is like all these brands are trying to trend predict. They're trying to know what is going to strike the right note with people in terms of coverage, application, packaging, price, everything that they're doing when they produce a product, they're trying to calibrate to the market. They're trying to make something that we're going to like. And naming the product is part of that. They're trying to calibrate it. So when a brand makes such an off decision in any one of these arenas that's like visible through the screen before you've even ever swatched the product or seen anyone else apply it, namely packaging and title and, the marketing aesthetic and stuff like that, when a brand really like puts their foot in it at this stage, it makes me mistrust all of the other work that they've done to create the product. I just feel like if they could strike such a weird note in the naming, did they also strike a weird note in the formula? Another weird thing that's going on with this product is that it looks like it oxidizes dramatically. Like they've given they've put the swatches here, and the wet swatches and the dry swatches are really, really, really different in color. And curiously, the wet dry of the lightest shade, the wet swatch looks really, really bright peach and like it would look terrible on me, but the dry swatch actually looks much more neutral, but it also looks a bit darker, like it dries down and becomes more neutral, but maybe oxidizes. It doesn't look from these swatches like the lightest shade would work for me, either the wet or the dry color. And also if they had to go to all this trouble to give like the wet swatch and the dry swatch to clarify that it's gonna look really different when it dries, I just also feel like that's, I don't know. I feel like they maybe should have started over. I know I'm being very judgy for someone who's just found out about this product 5 minutes ago and has never seen it. It's just giving me like tried really hard and made slightly awkward decisions vibes. Sometimes when you're trying so hard, sometimes when you realize you're just trying too hard, you just have to scrap it and start over. But who knows, maybe it's an amazing product. I will follow its future career with a modicum of interest. I do have something to say about Charlotte Tilbury Nudegasm collection, which is just that it's so pretty. I don't know. There are some brands, some of these like really high-end in Sephora brands like Charlotte Tilbury and NARS. They're not the same, but they give me similar vibes in terms of like the packaging is always going to be exquisite. They're going to look kind of classy, but also kind of like modern. Although Charlotte Tilbury has more of that vintage feel and NARS has more of that polished, structured, contemporary feel, but they're both giving me the same level of something, and I'm really into that. So historically, that's the kind of thing I've eaten up with a spoon. It's just the price point has always been kind of high to me for both of those brands. So I used to one by one like collect pieces of NARS makeup, and I used to be really into everything they released. And I coveted Charlotte Tilbury stuff for a really long time, and then I collected a piece here and a piece there. Curiously, neither one of those brands has delivered to me very many products that have been like my all-time favorite, that have stuck by me forever, that have ended up being like the best of the best of the best. Neither one of them has actually been my best brand, even though I kind of think of myself as like a real NARS girl, a real sort of Charlotte Tilbury girl. In terms of the delivery, like the performance of the product just hasn't really been there for me historically, like in my relationship with the makeup that I've tried. So at this point, when I see a thing like this, when I see Charlotte Tilbury's new collection, it's almost like I'm primed to appreciate it from afar. I know about myself that it's not going to be my best of the best. So I see it and I'm like, wow, it's so pretty. I really love the way they've done the palettes in this Nudegasm, the pans in this Nudegasm palette with the letters like radiating. And I like the neutrality of the bottom two colors. I just like it. I like it. It makes me feel the feelings. I love the nude lipstick colors by Charlotte Tilbury, and I think that the entire collection is beautiful. It's just like, I don't think of myself as someone who buys this stuff. Actually, that's the case. I don't think of myself as someone who buys Charlotte Tilbury really anymore. So it just doesn't even begin to trouble my sense of, should I buy it, my like shopping lizard? Like it doesn't waken her at all, which is kind of great. And that's what I have to say about this. The astrology collection by ColourPop, these little quads, these little themed quads, really good idea. Like I feel like that they made a really good idea, even though it's so dated in the makeup world now, like, or not dated. Dated I feel like implies like you're decades off. I feel like they missed the boat a little bit. Like if they'd done this a couple of years ago, it would have been an absolute smash hit. And maybe it still will be. I myself am saved from feeling like I want these because they always do like blues for Pisces. I'm a Pisces. And it's always like these bold blues because it's like the Pisces or the fish, you know what I mean? And blue is a color that I really do think is beautiful, and the makeup will sometimes compel me visually, but I wouldn't get use out of a blue quad, so I don't feel like I want to buy it. Even though I do kind of like Pisces stuff, I don't need this blue eyeshadow Pisces stuff. There's a post on Trend Mood for Clé de Peau holiday collection that says, "It's almost time for the holiday season." And I do have one thing to say about that, which is no, it's not. A Bobbi Brown x Ulla Johnson collab? A Bobbi Brown x Ulla Johnson collab? Why didn't anyone tag me in this? A Bobbi Brown x Ulla Johnson collab. I'm having feelings, and here's what they are. Ulla Johnson's one of my favorite clothing designers, but this isn't clothing. And what I really love about Ulla Johnson are the silhouettes, the fabrics, the mood. I mean, I guess it's selling the mood. I guess there's something you can claim that this is selling that's related to Ulla Johnson. There's like a vibe. The thing is, though, that I really, really do love Bobbi Brown, and I really like Bobbi Brown's formulas and trust them. I cannot tell enough from this Trend Mood listing to know whether this is something that I want to review or buy a piece for myself or something. All I know at this point is that this is something that I'll definitely be paying attention to. And I don't know, if you want a self-sponsored review on like a limited edition Bobbi Brown collection like this, I don't see that being a self-sponsored review that will go very far. If you happen to want it with the burning passion of 1,000 suns, let me know in the comments. But real talk, I feel some type of way, as the kids are saying, about this because I review makeup on YouTube. And I see this and I'm like, whoa, this is the kind of thing that might vibe with my channel that people would expect me to review. And that's valid. I mean, you know, I'm running a channel up here. Like I think that I do need to pay attention to that voice when I hear it sometimes. And sometimes I do. And sometimes I do review things that I think people are going to enjoy seeing me review. And this is definitely saying to me, I might be one of those things. But just as a consumer, even as someone who really loves Ulla Johnson's designs and really trusts Bobbi Brown's makeup formulas, even as that, I'm looking at it for real, like not just the idea of the thing, but the thing itself. I'm looking at it for real, and I'm like, the darkest lip balm, the one that's kind of like a warm brown and darker, I could totally see myself liking or wearing that. But I have a number of glosses and balms that are kind of in that color, and I don't end up reaching for them as much. I tend to reach something lighter and more clear, and I don't want to pay top dollar for just the clear, the basic pink, which I think probably goes on clear version of this lip balm. Like if you're buying something from a collab like this, you want something exciting. And then the red lip balm, again, I don't tend to go for lip balms that have that kind of like bright statement color. I'm sort of like clear, shiny, or an actual statement lip. So I don't know if it would be the lip balms. And then the lipsticks, of the two, the red is the one that I like, but I have all sorts of red lipsticks. And why would this be better than Lisa Eldridge Velvet Dragon, for example? I'm sure it wouldn't be. So I would be getting it just for the packaging, and I don't do that. Just like for the collab, you know, and I don't do that. The highlighting powder looks really, really beautiful, but maybe too dark for me because it's like this burgundy brown kind of shiny thing. And then these stick eyeshadows are really pretty, double-ended eyeshadow sticks. But again, like that's not the kind of thing that I tend to reach for to do my eyeshadow. My eyeshadow? It's not the kind of thing I don't use. When I have that kind of thing, I don't use it. I've just completely talked myself out of the entire collection. I don't even want to review it now. We're done here. Okay, let's talk about Lights Lacquer, because here's the thing you may have noticed. I've been painting my nails, and I forgot to talk about it in my What's Cheering Me Up Right Now. I've been thinking about it for like weeks, if not months. I've been painting my nails again, and I've been loving it. And I just have a handful of nail polishes. I don't know, it's like once a week. I just take off whatever's on them and I paint on new, and they always look great. I mean, except for right now, because this one has chipped. But they almost always look great, and they almost never chip because I've mostly been using the Static Nails nail polish, and it really does have amazing staying power. So I've just been really enjoying like this revolving door of nail colors. I've been thinking more about nail polish. I don't want to have a giant collection, but I think I might. I went for many years being just like a nail salon or bare nails girl. That's how I've been up until literally last month. either I had nothing on my nails or I was going to this salon and like getting the works. And now I'm like a nail polish girl. I'm just doing my own nails all the time. So I'm sort of thinking about, I mean, it's not like I want to buy these light flacker things. It's not like I'm just, you know, breaking down the door to buy them because I have nail polish already. Like I don't need more. I have enough. But now I'm taking a more than academic interest in the colors that are released by Light Flacker because I've always thought that she did a really good job with curation. And these are the kinds of colors that I really like. What intrigues me the most are these little dried flowers nail art stickers. That's the kind of thing that interests me because it's kind of original. I mean, nail art stickers have obviously been done before, and I haven't played around with anything like that since I started painting my nails again. So maybe I'll tiptoe into those waters. The nail art stickers have been done before, but these like pressed flower, these ones that look like little dried flowers, I've never seen that. That's what I was saying. So, you know, kudos, but it's definitely something that for me today, I can just skip over because again, even though I have a new interest in nail polish, I don't feel like I'm just itching to buy more because I do have some. Okay, Urban Decay Cyber palette. I do have something to say about this, and here is what it is. When I first saw this, which was a couple of days ago, so we're far enough down that we're getting into the things that I saw when I surveyed Trend Mood the first time when I was first planning to do this video, but then I realized I was still too sick. So I canceled it and I moved it to today. When I was first surveying Trend Mood, then I saw this and I thought that it said Oyster Bar. I thought it was the Oyster Bar palette. And here's why. It's because the C in cyber looks like an O. And so it looks like O-Y. And then B-E-R kind of looks like bar. So it's just, I mean, the word cyber and the word oyster bar and the phrase oyster bar like don't have all that much in common. But when you think, it looks sort of like it said oyster. And then it also looks sort of like it says bar. So when I glanced at it in my head, it was like oyster bar, oyster bar. And I was like, Urban Decay Naked Oyster Bar palette, like they have really got off the deep end. And I think it was also to do with the colors, like these really pale iridescent colors, like that's kind of Oyster Bar, isn't it? Isn't it a little bit like the inside of an oyster shell, a little bit mother of pearl? I can only assume that there is something about the way these shadows look when they're swatched or when they're applied that is not even beginning to read in the image here, because it just looks like a whole bunch of pale pastel. It is implying, like the picture is trying to imply that they're iridescent, most of them, but it's not giving us much to go on for that. It's like you have to take its word for it, kind of. I feel like Urban Decay has really screwed the pooch via advertising on their last several Naked palettes. Like I feel like the last Naked palette that people really loved was Naked Honey. And that was the first one where everyone thought it looked terrible based on the marketing images and the swatches. And then once people got it, a lot of people really loved it. Since then, all the marketing imagery has been disappointing and a lot of the palettes have been disappointing to a lot of people. And it was the one right after that, Ultraviolet, when they started sending me these. And I don't know if they'll send me this. I haven't heard anything from them. If they do, I will definitely apply it on camera, review it, let you know like I always do. But just on site, it's all gonna hinge on the formula, because if they are trying to do the like barely there because it's naked, so the formula isn't all that creamy and it doesn't apply very thickly thing with this color story, I think that that's not gonna be a good palette. If Cleona, for example, released a palette with this color story, it would be incredible. Because if a bunch of shadows that look like this in the pan or looked like this in kind of like a weak photo job, if they were really creamy and rich and thick and full coverage and super iridescent and dynamic, that would be an amazing palette. Just based on my experience with Naked palettes, I don't trust Oyster Bar to be that way. I don't think that they're gonna suddenly put a formula like that in a Naked palette. Let's talk about Natasha Denona, the mini, this black Smoke and Visions. What? Mini Xenon. Let's talk about Natasha Denona mini Xenon eyeshadow palette. So this is like a whole collection, very makeup artist, very, very tools of the trade, very stark. These beautiful looking eye crayons, which are in 3 colors that I really like for eye crayons: a rich jelly black, a sort of pinky plum, and a warm brown. I love an eye crayon like this. It's my eyeliner style of choice. So if I were ever to get my hands on one of these, I'm sure that I would enjoy it and I would enjoy using it. However, I'm not going to run out and buy that. I feel like that's the kind of thing that I can be just as happy with when it's from the drugstore as when it's high end. There are just good versions, there are decent versions of that kind of thing at the drugstore. And that's the kind of thing I go through. You know what I mean? And if I'm going to be using it up and buying it again, using it up and buying it again, then the difference between $1 or $2 and $24 actually is a real difference. You know, if I'm buying my own and I'm using it every single day, and so I'm having to replace it like 5 times a year, a product like this, a black eyeliner, a basic black eyeliner. If I get one from the drugstore, say I spend $3 on it, then over the course of the year, I'm not spending all that much more than $10 to keep myself an eyeliner. But if I'm using the one from Natasha Denona, I'm spending well over $100 a year to keep myself an eyeliner. And that can make a really big difference. So I'm sure it's great, but I'm not personally all that interested in that. It's cool that she released full coverage cream eyeliner. I know, again, that that's a thing that a lot of people love to use. And again, I'm sure that the formulas are great. But the thing that really has my attention from this launch is the mini eyeshadow palette for 2 reasons. One, it's just so interesting. Like, it's just the black. We don't often see black from Natasha Denona. This cream color called Puff, that's very neutral. A lot of creams like this lean warm, and this one clearly doesn't. And then these really cool toned grays, Gloom and Mist. I don't need a thing like this. I don't do really smoky, super cool toned gray looks enough to need a whole entire mini Natasha Denona palette for it. If I wanted to make a look like this, I could easily make it using what I already own with my single eyeshadows and my palettes. Absolutely. But if I did make a lot of this kind of look, I would want to buy this palette. For the $25, absolutely. And in fact, I could kind of see myself one day peeping this in store and buying it just for that black, because I do use black eyeshadow a lot and I like to have a super high quality black on hand to just like open the palette and grab it and use it in the outer corner no matter what else I'm doing. I've even considered sometimes buying Natasha Denona black single eyeshadow, and those are like $30. So I've considered spending more than this entire palette costs just on a black. And so for that reason, I don't know, it's kind of on my maybe list. I'm definitely not like buying it online right now. I'm not like waiting for the launch, but I could just see myself buying it, thinking it's a really good idea. The silver looks incredible. I saw her swatching it on Instagram. I think that those sort of blue toned cool grays, it's not my thing right now. So that's why I'm kind of like, wow, but no, like wow, but not for me. If she had mixed cool and warm and she had made one of those grays like kind of neutral or kind of warm, it might be getting me in the feels a lot more, but it's not. And I'm glad that I feel that way about that. I'm glad that I'm able to just be like, maybe someday it would be a really useful tool. But for now, how interesting and how cool that this is what she released. And I'm glad that I don't feel like I want to buy it. And also the fact that it's called the Mini Xenon kind of implies that there's going to be a Xenon, a bigger Xenon palette in the future. What do we think that's going to look like? This YSL new Bare Look skin tint looks so alluring to me. And the lightest shade, tell me what's going on here. The lightest shade is several shades too dark and too peach for the model on which they swatched it. Like, they have a model here in this photo collage. They have a model here whose skin looks a lot like mine, actually. And then the product looks too dark and too peach in the swatch on that skin. It's like they're advertising the fact that they didn't make a light enough shade for people who are that light and that neutral. And gosh, it's like a product that would be right up my alley because it's $38, which is a lot for a makeup product. But I would not blink if YSL had released this and it was like $50, you know, like $48 or $58. I would think that they would do a thing like that. So it seems like they've kind of priced it to sell, if you know what I mean. It's got all of the claims that I love. So light to medium coverage, dewy complexion, hydration. I mean, I would love to try this product, but I don't think I'm going to based on the swatches. There's been all sorts of hullabaloo around the new perfume from Fenty. I haven't gotten a chance to smell it, but I am curious about it. I think, well, I don't know. It's top notes white floral, and I don't tend to be into white florals. If a perfume is too white florally, it can kind of be like it can kind of go rotten on me. Like I'm very warm and I think I make it, I turn it into that like hothouse, slightly rotted flower smell. And that's not all that alluring. It's like not that cute. You know what I mean? So I tend to shy away from things that say they have magnolia in them or gardenia. You know what I mean? But then the second note is musk. Then we have tangerine blueberry. And I do feel like I can get down a little bit with a citrus as a note. And musk is definitely something that I love in a scent. And then the underlying notes are geranium and patchouli, which is also, the patchouli is that kind of like warm, spicy that tends to wear well on me. And rose can kind of go either way. So I don't know. This is the kind of thing I would love to try a sample of. I feel like there's a chance that it'll end up just smelling like everything else. So often a scent comes out and it just smells like the perfume section of Sephora. You know what I mean? It like smells like everything mixed together. There's a chance that it could be that, but there's also a chance that it could be really amazing because of that musk and that patchouli. Have you smelled it? What does it smell like? Tell me. All right, y'all, I'm scrolling and scrolling. I'm getting way down. Like I'm getting so far down that I've like passed another release from Light's Lacquer. Like we're like two releases from Light's Lacquer into the past. And I am seeing things that I think that are the kinds of things I usually talk about, like the M Cosmetics cheek blush sticks look really, really beautiful. They sometimes send me PR, but I haven't had any indication that they're going to be sending those. The colors are really, really pretty. I just feel like I'm a little bit tapped out with like cream blush releases. I do trust M Cosmetics to make a really good formula of a stick blush. Like if I get to try one of these someday, I'll be psyched. I just am not feeling that kind of like leap of excitement over that kind of thing anymore right now because there have been so many of them and I have so many cream blushes that I really love. The card about those on Trendmood is right next to the announcement for the release of the Glossier cream bronzers, the Solar Paint, Glossier Solar Paint, which I did film a whole overhead review of, giving you really close-up swatches. And I think that will have already gone up on my channel by the time this video goes up. So if you're curious about my thoughts on that product, then you can click through and watch that video if you haven't already seen it. And I'll just reiterate what I said then. I think that they did themselves a disservice with the publicity shots. I think all of the shades look a lot kind of more washed out in this picture that I'm looking at than they look in real life. They look much richer and more like bronzers in real life, but the shade range is really poor in terms of undertones. There's really not much of a diversity of undertones in the shade range, even though the shade range is on a wider spectrum from light to dark than it looks in the pictures. The M Cosmetics bronzers, and I'm just commenting on this because again, the post is right next to the Glossier post. The swatches of the M Cosmetics bronzers, which I haven't seen in person, look like they are much more diverse in undertone. Like it looks like there's a very cool undertoned deep brown and a warm undertoned deep brown. The naming, I feel like the product naming is like off the chain right now, but I kind of mean it in a bad way. So I feel like off the chain isn't the right phrase. Off the deep end, off the cliff, off the books, off the rails. The product naming has gone off and it's all I have to comment on it's all I have to say about foil. Oh, I feel like I might get demonetized. Well, you know what it's called. The Act of Love foil. It does look really pretty. Now that I've pulled it up to talk about the name that they chose for it, it does look really pretty, especially that really neutral, pale, iridescent pearly one, the shade Stargazer. I do really like that. I'm not gonna run out and buy this. This is the kind of thing that I always think that I'll use, but then I just never use. I mean, like if I were gonna use a thing like this, today would be the day, right? I could put it all over my shoulders and you could see them, but I didn't. And I do have stuff that I could have done that with, and I just didn't think of it. But I mean, I feel like they just had a bunch of nouns that they could have used and another bunch of nouns that they could have used. Did you see that fly? Get out of here. I can just see them with like a roster of word number 1 and then a roster of word number 2. And they just like spun the wheel and just like picked one from each. And it feels like Mad Libs. It feels like they picked it with some sort of Mad Libs computer program. I really have to go. I feel like I wasn't even able to begin to cover everything. I feel like there's too much here that I'd spent a long time. What? I just started like 5 sentences. I need to go pretty soon, even though I wasn't able to cover everything. It's been kind of a long time since I did one of these. So even though I wasn't able to cover everything, I wasn't even able to cover everything that I feel like I could have had something to say about. Even though that's true, I'm running out of steam and we've been filming for a little while, so I do have to go. There's one thing that we absolutely have to talk about, which is these Hourglass eyeshadow palettes. What is going on? Is it 1998? Because I just feel like it's not just the price. The price is a bit of a little piece of insanity dropped into our already insane lives. But it's not just that. It's that the aesthetic is so wrong. It's just so painfully unpleasant to look at to me. The way that they've laid this out with these shades that click in, the shapes of the pans, even the colors, everything about it feels dated. Like it just really feels like people who don't actually buy makeup, like don't really go to the makeup store and shop and feel feelings and become intrigued and reach out to swatch and touch things. People who don't do that ever designed this. And people who were just given like some magazines, some old magazines from the 1990s, early 2000s that had makeup in them. And they were like, design an eyeshadow palette, design like a whole eyeshadow palette system based on the little you know. The 5-pan custom palette is $161. Sometimes things are really expensive and I kind of understand. Like when Chantecaille releases something like an eyeshadow palette and it's $160 or even sometimes a brand like this, like Hourglass, if they did something really beautiful and special and it was that much, I would understand, because I would feel like there are people who are in the market for luxury goods who have a lot of money, who are willing to spend that much on something really special. The thing that's getting me about this is that it feels and looks so unspecial, and I just cannot imagine that this is going to be a success. I feel like the thing that we're all curious about is how long it's going to last on the market before they pull it all. Because I just cannot imagine that this is still going to be for sale. Honestly, like next year, at this time next year or the year after that, what do I know? I've never seen like makeup market analytics. I just can't imagine that this is going to sell. Had to throw it in here and comment on it because I felt like we just needed to kiki about this release being totally mystifying. I mean, it must be that their target audience is people who don't own, and they just own one quad at a time, you know? And maybe I, along with many people in the beauty space, have grown into someone who completely underestimates and discounts that market. I think that there are probably way more people who buy makeup like that than there are people who buy makeup or use makeup in the way that I do, or maybe some of you do. And yeah, maybe if I had been using the same quad, like a Chanel quad for 5 years, and I had used it all completely up, and every time I needed to do makeup, I used it, and that was all I had. And I went to the department store, to the Sephora, and I was like, I need a replacement for this. And I was willing to spend sort of any amount because it's just my one thing, and I wanted it to be the best, and I wanted it to be fancy. And I was trying to match those, say that quad had been discontinued, and I was trying to build something to exactly match those colors because I felt comfortable with it. I had been using it. This is like a luxury brand and you can pick, and I was able to build like a 5-pan palette with my exact colors, and I knew that it would last for another 5 years. Maybe then I would buy it. Maybe this would call my name and I would buy it. And maybe there are way, way, way more people doing that, buying makeup in that way than I am aware of. I mean, I'm aware that there are a lot, but maybe there are so many people buying makeup that way that a release like this, which has fallen completely flat to me as like an informed beauty consumer, like so flat that it's concave. I mean, it is just, they've missed by a mile the mark, you know? But it might be that even though that's the case, and even though I'm guessing that that's the case with a lot of people who are passionate about beauty in the way that I am, it might be that they're catering like to a market that I know not of, and they do know of, and they know what they're doing. I don't know. And now I'm gonna go. I am gonna try to come back and do this again pretty soon because I feel like I went a long time between the last one and this one, and it's always such a gas. I hope that it was just fun for you to watch it as it was for me to film, and I really, really hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.